Hello and welcome. I'm going to show you how to set up the GOFermentor. First of all, you'll have a base that's folded up. That's your controller. There's a little bracket that attaches to it. That's the support pole. You'll find a vent valve. Comes with a tri-clamp. There's a hose for inflating the bag and also a tri-clamp to attach it. So the first thing we're going to do is attach the bracket to the back of the control panel. You only have to do this once. Once it's attached, you can simply hang the control panel onto the base. So you unscrew the two screws on the back, lay it on the front, pick up the bracket, and you'll notice there are two holes, a wide hole and a narrow hole. Put the narrow hole against the control panel and reinsert those two screws and tighten them up. Now you can see that the bracket is attached to the panel and you can hang the whole panel from the bracket. The next thing is we're going to assemble the support pole that holds up the vent valve. You take these two pieces, they're threaded, thread them together to make a longer pole. Then take the third piece and insert it across the T and tighten up the little knob. Now go to the side, loosen up the wing nuts, push the pole down through the green brackets and tighten up the wing nuts. You have now finished the assembly of the control panel. Now, some of the accessories you might have, a temperature probe sampler kit that goes into the bag, hangs on with a clamp. The temperature probe is inside that stainless piece and the plug is on that end. That is the sampling port. You have a handheld sampler, you plug it in, it opens the channel, you give it a couple of squeezes, it pulls the sample up. Then just disconnect it, that shuts it off from the bag, and you can take your sample off in the lab. If you may have got an optional cooler, so there's a cooling valve assembly which opens automatically when it needs coolant. You need to connect this to the cooling plate, which is a big stainless steel square section. And you also have two white tubes that connect the controller to the cooling plate. So first screw one of these cooling tubes to the end of the cooling plate. The other end goes on to the stainless nipples on the valve assembly. And the second one is put on exactly the same way from the second tube to the second port. Now we're ready to start. Let's open up our base by folding it open. Just pull out the four ends. They will lock into position. We're now going to rotate it so that the front faces us. The front has a little trap door. Now, first of all, if you have a cooler, we're going to install the cooler first because it goes under the bag. If you don't have a cooler, you can ignore this step and just go on to the next step where I show you how to put the bag in. So first, connect these tubes to the ends of the cooler. Now, I'm showing you hand tighten, but you should use a wrench to make sure those connections are tight. Now, lift up that trap door and then rotate it downwards. This gives you access to the inside. Now, take the cooling plate, lay it on one side on the bottom, and make sure the cooling tubes are facing upwards. Next, take the cooling valve assembly and hang it off the back wall. Connect the tubes to the valve bracket. Now you would attach your glycol, chill water, or coolant to the other side of this controller and plug that valve into the control panel. You see how the cooling plate lays to one side inside the base. Now, you can actually have a second cooling plate in there in case you need to go to colder temperatures. Now, we're ready to put the bag in. Let's take the bag, lay it inside the base. The yellow fitting must face towards the front. Now, take that fitting and push it out through the hole in the front. Now, pull it out and make sure it locks in firmly. Look at how the bag looks inside. It's sitting in there with the two ports. Next, take the pivot strap, open it up, and make a little loop. Attach it to the blue fitting, which is where the inflation air goes into the system. Take that and move these straps towards the back. You want about 3 to 4 feet between that and the edge of the base. Now go to the bottom, take that strap, and just loop it around one of the legs in the middle, and put it through the little lock. Again, check to see your dimensions are correct. 3 to 4 feet from the blue port to the back edge of the base. Now ready to put our panel on. The bracket allows us to hang the panel directly onto the base. Okay, so now we're ready to power up the panel. Plug it into a 110 receptacle, turn the power on. If this is the first time you're using the system, it's going to require to connect to a Wi-Fi network. So you're going to get this message. And let's see how you're going to get onto your Wi-Fi network. Press OK, and it will go through a setup screen. Press setup before that bar times out. Then pick built-in Wi-Fi, say join a network, and then hit scan. It will try to find networks for you. And then you can pick the one you want to log into. It'll connect. Now say yes to save this network. So the next time you won't have to go through this, it will do it by itself. Now we just go down back to the main menu and you will be into the main control system. Next, we're going to connect the inflation hose to the blue port. So take one end with a tri-clamp, connect it to the blue port that you previously secured with the pivot strap. Get the tri-clamp on firmly, take the other end and plug it into the outlet on the control panel. Now we're going to initiate a punch by activating inflation of the blue section. And you can see how this thing rises out of the base. Now you want to stop this before it goes all the way because an empty bag can overextend. In a full bag, you won't have this problem. This is again a view from the front. Now you should always do this before you start filling because it forces the bag to fit itself into the correct position. Now ready to fill the bag. So here's how it goes. You go to a stemmer or any similar machine and basically pump in through the 2-inch port into the bag. Then look at the bag. There are 2 ports. Take the second port, the one above the label, and attach the vent to it. Put it on, secure with the tri-clamp, and then you're going to hang it up on that support pole with a built-in hook. Take the cable from the vent valve and plug it into the side panel. Next, we usually cap this off when we fill the bag. Now we're going to take the cap off and we're going to put in the temperature probe. So take the probe and simply push it in, make sure the tri-clamp gasket is there, and then secure that with the tri-clamp. Plug the probe into the jack on the front panel and you'll see it activate and measure temperature. The top is a sampling port, and I showed you this before, but you can plug in your sampler anytime in your fermentation, take your sample, and analyze it. Now, to press the system at the end of fermentation, take out the vent valve, take out the temperature probe, and push in the large press tube. Push it all the way down inside and secure it with a tri-clamp. Connect this tube to your harvest pump. It can be a simple wine pump. And then basically inflate the bag by setting up the press cycle button, and the wine will be squirted out the press tube through the pump and into your collection vessel. In this case, a bag. We use everything in bags. So there's our wine, finished wine being collected. Thank you for watching. I'm sure you're going to make the most excellent wine in the GOFermentor. Up to 1 ton with no hassles, no mess, and no oxidation.